Hi, Allie.
Hi, Melissa. What are we doing?
Well, first of all, you can do our little intro. Sometimes I almost
Yeah.
do it, and then I'm like, no, she always does it, so she should introduce us.
Well, I always try to give you the opportunity if you want it.
I guess I
So
do.
that's why I'm always awkward in the beginning, giving you the floor, but then you don't. So then I have to do it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll say that this is Liverpool, USA. It's a best friends podcast because we are best friends.
Yeah. And today you wanted to talk about aliens, and I love that idea. So let's talk about aliens.
Yeah, I don't even know where it came from. It could be because I've been listening to um Let's Get Haunted, which is a super fun podcast, and they talk about
Yeah.
not just ghosts haunting, but they talk about conspiracy theories and aliens and cryptids and unsolved mysteries and all that kind of funky stuff. And so yeah, I don't really know exactly why I thought specifically aliens though, but it's a fun concept.
Yeah. I mean, okay, let's do the question off the bat. Do you believe in aliens?
I think I have the answer, which is not an uncommon answer. So I'm not unique or cool for this. But
Mm-hmm.
my answer is yes, but not necessarily in the way that they're portrayed in TV and stuff. I believe
Yeah.
that something exists out there, life forms exist somewhere in space, and there could be ones that are intelligent enough to do space travel and stuff. But I don't really
Mm-hmm.
know if I believe in aliens having the ones that have visited Earth. But I don't know. I've heard weird stuff, and if I was proven wrong, I'd be like, actually, I don't know what I would think if I was if there was actual solid proof that I believe that aliens visited Earth. But so yes, kind of. What about
Yeah,
you?
I kind of think the same thing. I think space is so big and um like the probability I think that there's a very high probability that some kind of life form exists outside of Earth. And maybe that's a bacteria type life form. Maybe that's intelligent life. Maybe it's a million light years away. Maybe it's, closer than we think. I have no idea. But I think it's probably very likely that something exists. But yeah, I don't know that I have any reason to believe that there's been alien intervention on Earth.
I do think that the conspiracy theories are fun. I don't know
Yeah,
how
for
much I
sure.
really believe, but I grew up watching my dad was super into UFOs and very into
Mm,
aliens, and so I grew up watching a lot of those little TV specials and documentaries and stuff about UFOs and Roswell and Area 51 and all those kind of fun
yeah.
conspiracies and stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know anybody in your life that genuinely believes in aliens?
Um, I I don't think so. I don't know if it's been brought up to the point where I would know that about somebody that I know that I can think of. I feel like I
Mm,
would know if.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have one friend,
Oh, hi.
and I will not elaborate too much because I
Okay.
don't want to make anybody feel bad.
Uh-huh.
Friend who genuinely believes, and she's talked about it a couple of times, and it's kind of hard to keep a straight face a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's everybody is very entitled to their own beliefs, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's an interesting one because kind of I guess her argument is there's so much that the government does cover up that you know how would we know if there were
Right.
aliens?
Yeah, because
Because
there
it's of course the government would cover it up.
right, yeah, cuz there was confirmed unidentified what do they call it? They don't call it UFO because that's too
Yeah.
loaded. of like a term. They
Yeah.
call it, oh my gosh, what do they call it? Something else. But there was like declassified UFO videos released like during the pandemic, like actual videos where the government is like,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't know what this is. So that's like pretty fun, and also would
Yeah.
definitely feel those like okay, if there's unidentified flying objects, how do we know that there isn't unidentified life forms, in in like
Yeah.
military bases or whatever? Like a lot of stuff has been declassified or proven, that like the government has hidden that seems very unreal over the years. So I can see why people would think like, well, why not aliens, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I definitely can understand that. I mean, I think it is like, I think it's like a very, like, if you want to apply logic to it, like, it does logically follow that, like, yeah, if they're like, what would the government do if it did find aliens? Probably hide them away and try and keep it on lock and try to, like, you know, not scare but and also like make sure that they like keep the power for themselves and like blah blah blah, like all of those things. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting for sure. I think with the amount of like science, I guess that I know, I think that there have been aliens on Earth, but I also think with the amount of science I know that there are probably aliens out there,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like yeah, but again, I think that like alien is such a like it really brings to mind like the green little man, you know? But when I like talk about aliens, I'm like it really could be like bacteria, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah,
Or
like
like
it's
fish.
funny that we like the aliens that exist to a lot of people who believe, like the grays and the green guys, like they're all like humanoid. So it's like, well, if
Yeah.
there was like not just bacteria, but even, things that were like intelligent or it's, some other form, then like why do they have to be like humanoid? Like we don't even know. Like we can't even imagine what shape they would probably be.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I just read this book called Project Hail Mary, and by the same guy who wrote The Martian. I don't know if you ever read that or saw that movie.
No, I actually haven't.
But, um it's by that same author, and no, no spoilers because I actually think you should read it.
Okay.
But it has aliens in it, and it has a very interesting depiction of aliens. In a way, I think that is more based in science, or like it kind of tries to take like the like practical scientific approach to if there were aliens, like what would it
Okay.
actually like, you know,
Yeah.
based on like other planets, based on like the atmosphere and like how would something else like evolve, what would it look like? And yeah, and it's like, yeah, unless it's exactly like Earth, it's probably not going to look like a human.
Yeah, I love that concept actually. I love when science mixes with like things that people would maybe think otherwise aren't scientific or like aren't worthy of scientific study, like aliens and um like clairvoyance and like stuff like that. I don't know. Like I love when science mixes with stuff like that cuz it makes it, I don't know. I think that's kind of a cool concept.
Yeah. Yeah, I think aliens are a really interesting like topic to write about or like think about. Like I love sci-fi. And I think like it is genuinely interesting to like think about what aliens would look like, or if aliens came to Earth or we found aliens or whatever. Or like, what would it look like if the aliens were like trying to kill us, or what would it look like if friendly, or, like, I think all of those things are really interesting to think about, even if end of the day don't actually believe that it's like could happen. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
it's interesting to think about from like an art perspective, or like a writing literature type person, or like I guess even like philosophical or like psychological perspective. Like how would humans react? How would the government react? Like I think that's interesting to think about, even if you don't believe it. Really.
Yeah. Yeah, but I've also heard, like, going back to this podcast I've been listening to, they tell some stories
Yeah.
sometimes that I'm like, okay, I'm still a skeptic, but this is like,
Sure.
I admit it, like, this is kind of weird. There was a story, what year was it? I don't remember what year, but I think it was at a schoolyard in Africa, and all of these kids, and there was like all of the staff was in a meeting inside, and the only adult was in like some sort of, I want to say it was like a little stand where the kids could like get drinks or something. I don't know. It was like something that I don't know if it like exists in America, but like a little kind of like kiosk thing. But
Sure.
they like were like in a different part of like the schoolyard, so they like didn't see this. But so of course, like very conveniently, there were no adults here. There were just like older kids and really young kids. And they saw, some of them said, I think most of them said just one of a weird shaped object in the sky. And then like a little like bean like came out of it and then like went back up and disappeared after like a certain amount of time. And all of these kids, like there was a bunch of kids that have like the same story, and there was a journalist that like had them all draw what they saw, and a lot of them were very very similar, especially for like children drawings. And so that's like a really cool, interesting, like kind of unexplained story, because it's like they're children, but it's like since when are like young children all on the same page for like that
Yeah.
period of a time, and like could like young
Yeah.
children like this like really pull off like a prank that big or something? I don't know. Like stuff like that is like really interesting. Um yeah, and then like how much do you know about like, cuz of course there's Men in Black the movies, which I love.
Mm.
But have you heard stuff about like the Men in Black like as like a theory, like an existing theory?
No.
Cuz um there's like two kind of big theories, and I think that one of them is that they are humans that are like part of like a top secret, like government agency or whatever, that like covers up stuff like aliens and like other like weird, you know, moments or whatever. Like there's a Mothman story where like there was a
Mhm.
Mothman sighting, and then like someone like saw Men in Black like close by. So it's like when there's a lot of weird stuff happening, it's like they're the ones that are there. I don't know. But a bigger,
Okay.
I think the like bigger side of the Men in Black theory is that they are aliens trying to blend in as humans, and they like
Mm.
come and uh like fix stuff if humans like come in contact with aliens or whatever. And
Interesting.
yeah, because there's like people, a lot of like really convincing stories about people who have had experiences with the Men in Black, or have them like shown up to their house or something and like, got them to like not speak about certain things or whatever. But all of their descriptions are really weird. Like they're usually really tall, of course, in like their all black suits. But a lot of them are described to have like really pale skin and look like they're wearing like red lipstick, like men that are like wearing red lipstick or something. They like have sunglasses on and they're like really weird. Um yeah, that's like an interesting, I don't know, just like all the
Interesting.
iterations
Yeah.
of what we think aliens are. Do you
Yeah.
have any like alien stories or anything that you are like your favorites, you think are fun or anything like that?
Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, I kind of tend to be like, I love science fiction. I
Mhm.
love science fiction. Um, I don't think I have any like conspiracy theories that like people actually think are true that I like really know that much about. I more am on the like, yeah, like the science fiction where it's like clearly made up,
Mm.
like it's science fiction, but it's interesting to think about anyways. Um, but yeah, I read Project Hail Mary most recently. I thought that was pretty good. for like alien thought. Um, and I'm trying to like think. Oh, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I
I
have
really
not read
like.
that, which I'm like a fake like writer person for
Yeah,
never having read
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like honestly, all four of them, there's like books in that, and I think it's the third one or the fourth. I can't remember actually now which one it is so good, and it's like so interesting because it like has cool in it.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I don't know that much about aliens, to be honest, but I like the concept. And I guess the only other thing that's kind of similar is like I did want to talk about the Area 51, like when everybody tried to go there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know a little bit about that. Because once again, keep shouting out a podcast that's like way more popular than us, so it literally doesn't benefit them at all. But like the Let's Get On It
Yeah.
podcast, they went to that. And they like
Oh yeah,
vlogged
I believe
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and because it seemed really interesting because not like a fraction of the people showed up than what who they thought, like how many people they thought were going to show up. Um,
Yeah.
because they thought it was going to be like tens of thousands, and it wasn't. It was like a handful of people. It was like a group. Um,
Yeah.
and they actually ended up because there was like in a little place kind of close by, like the closest kind of town, which is like a tiny little place. I think there was even like a little music festival thing and like some vendors and like, some stuff happening there. Um, where a lot of people hung out, but to actually get to the gates, I guess there's two main gates. You have to
Yeah.
like drive quite a ways. There's no map. There's zero lights. It's like the middle of the desert. It's pitch black. There's nothing going on out there. And it's like kind of hard to get to, I guess. Um
Yeah, which makes sense.
yeah, yeah, but I guess they ended up getting there because they ran into like literally a stranger, and he was in like like a Ford Bronco or something, and I think he had a dog, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I know how to get there. Like I'll take you guys there." And it was them two and like maybe another friend or something that actually ended up going with him. But one of them immediately was like, "Okay, I just want to let you know, like I have a knife, I have pepper spray. If like you try anything, like I will kill you." She was just like immediately like,
Oh my
which ended
god,
up being
yeah.
like not needed because he was actually a genuinely cool guy. But like I totally understand, like where she's coming
Yeah.
from. Yeah, because that's like, oh my gosh, that's so sketchy. But yeah, he took him out there, and she was one of the girls was convinced that the guards, because they like hired extra like police officers to stand there, um
Yeah.
and she was convinced that they were like just actors because they were all too attractive. I guess they were just like all attractive men, and they were like really nice. And she was like, these were
Funny.
not real police officers, like these were hired actors or something. um
That's
but
so
I guess
funny.
it was just like kind of chill, like people were just like
Yeah.
hanging out, you know and it was just like kind of a chill time for a little bit, which is kind of
Okay,
wild.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think, I think the thing that like people think about when they think of Area 51 or the government like hiding aliens in there or whatever is like I don't know, I guess this is what I was talking about, but it's like I don't know that I necessarily believe that there's aliens in there, but like I do they are something in there. You know what I mean? So it's like why
Yeah.
wouldn't it be aliens, I guess.
Right,
You know?
yeah, like why not aliens? Even if it's also other stuff, it could be also aliens.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you know that there's like some crazy stuff in there. And like the thing too, I think about aliens and like conspiracy theories, especially about like the government, is that you really don't know until you know. Like
Yeah.
there's so much that's like you can't fathom it, like because you just don't. There's no way you would be able to come up with some of the stuff, unless you know. So I do think too, it's like especially with like speculating about aliens, like we could just have one way of thinking about things, and I think aliens really are like the type of thing that is like how could we know what aliens are going to be like? You know, how could
Yeah.
we know like what time frame aliens are on? How could we know like
Yeah.
um if aliens, because here's the thing too, and so I took astronomy in high school. We had an astronomy class
Ooh.
like in our high school, and I took it, and it was the coolest classes ever. And Miss Black, the astronomy teacher, said something that has literally like haunted me for how many years has it been? Like almost 10 years.
Uh-huh.
And he literally said humans have been like basically since we got like radio waves like figured out, we asking, you know what I mean? Like waves travel like far, you know? And our satellites, our lights, and so like we make a lot of noise and we make a lot of light for a planet. And he was saying like, he was the one who kind of taught me to think sort of like, oh, it's kind of incredible that like some kind of alien life out there, like whether it's bacteria or like intelligent life, like we have no idea how far away it is, we have no idea, but like probably there's something somewhere. And he was like, another thing to think about is we've been so loud and so bright for like long enough ish that like if somebody wanted to find us, they probably could have. And like maybe there's a reason they haven't like come to say hi. Like I think this is what kind of stuck me is he was like, maybe the reason we haven't found them is because everybody else is smart enough not to broadcast so loudly and brightly all the time.
Yeah. Okay, I like that theory. I know that there are different theories for like why aliens would be here and also why they would not be here. So,
No.
yeah, that is really interesting. Yeah.
And I just, cause like, yeah, he was sort of like, doesn't it make us like basically what he was saying is, doesn't it make us look like stupid?
We literally have. I remember learning about it in college. Is it the International Space Station? Is something that's out in space and we put um like basically a hieroglyph of what humans look like as like a
Yes,
picture
yeah.
like
So
out in space, so if like some sort of other being saw it they'd be like, ah, this is what lives on this earth, I guess. That's like supposedly supposed to
yeah,
be some universal language because it's like a picture. Yeah.
so yeah, it's this like disc, and it like sort of looks like a record.
Oh.
And it's actually they might have one on the International Space Station, but I don't know. But it's on this like probe basically that they sent
Mm.
out from Earth. I think when I was in like sixth or seventh grade is when they sent it out, because I
Oh.
remember like them talking to us about it, and I remember learning about it because this was when it was like gonna launch, and they sent it out towards like Saturn and like Pluto, like towards the edge of the solar system, and like its goal is to just keep going as far as it possibly can, and like
Yeah.
they did the science or whatever so that it would like have like perpetual like motion, so it would just like never stop like
Oh my
going in that
god.
direction,
Yeah.
and like use whatever to like keep it going forever basically until it like disintegrates. But it's like in space, so it probably won't, and that's what that disc is on, is it's on
Oh,
that.
okay.
So so in like millions of years, like if somebody finds it, they would know, because it also, so it has like coordinates or like somehow that it's like pointing to where it came from
Mm-hmm. Isn't it
also,
just
because
like a diagram of the solar system with like an arrow or something?
I think so. It's
Yeah.
like something like that. Yeah, but it like, yeah, it shows like where Earth is, and then it shows what humans look like. And I think it has some math thing on it too that
Mm.
like shows that we like know about like chemistry and math, I think. Because it like yeah, it like there's something on it that like shows that we know what atoms look like, and
Oh.
some math thing too, and I should know what it is, but I don't.
Yeah, which is a
Um
a whole nother thing that is like I think way too off topic, which is also like we've talked about math before and how it's so like if another life form out there has math, it probably doesn't look like our math like at all.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is I really think that you would like this book, Project Hail Mary, because this is like one of the things is they talk about like not only how would like another alien like evolve, but then if humans and aliens met and they had completely different like how would they communicate? How would
Yeah.
they, like figure out how to like, understand like what the other species knows about, because it's like
Mm-hmm.
there's no way we have just like the exact same knowledge base.
Right? Yeah, like would they even have the equivalent of speaking or sight or hearing or
Exactly.
like oh my god, it's so like existentially, just like the
Yeah.
possibilities, yeah, that we can't even comprehend.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, yeah, I think it's really interesting to think about like what pieces of math do we find so foundational that for an alien to be traveling, they will have had to have figured this out, right?
Yeah.
And chemistry, and I think it's like this is sort of like the reason we put the like, what an look like or whatever on the thing that we send out into space. It's like, oh, if a life is intelligent enough to do space travel, they have to know what atoms look like. There's no way
Mm.
you could
Okay.
do space travel and know like these things about chemistry, or
Yeah.
like there's things about math that is, oh, if you didn't know how gravity works or something, there's no way you could be traveling in space.
Yeah, they might have a different way of like physically explaining it, but they would have to have a similar
Yes.
concept of yeah, its existence, yeah. Cuz I guess there
Yeah.
is, I mean that we know of. Like I guess there are basic principles that like have to exist in all of space, right? Cuz that's just kind of how it would have to work, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that there also on that disc there are instructions for like doing it, but there's some kind of music like
Oh
and
yeah, I
it
think
might
I
be
knew
like
that.
because it's a record and then it like shows how to like, or something. But
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure there's a song on it.
I
Like
think you're
that's the
right.
music that they chose.
Yeah.
Which like okay,
Yeah.
no comment, I suppose. But yeah, I think aliens are really interesting as and like I said, I guess more of an exercise in like human psychology than like actual science, like do aliens exist?
Mhm.
Um, but I also think it's interesting. I know NASA has people on it, trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody has that job.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know, I just keep thinking about like all conspiracy alien related things because there are people who believe like not only in aliens but like alternate universe type stuff, which kind of takes
Yeah,
it into like even more confusing territory
yeah.
mathematically.
I think that's sort of where I draw the line. Like, okay, like the movie
Yeah.
Interstellar?
I've never seen it. Is it
Girl,
the
what?
one with that Dylan Thomas poem? Is it Dylan Thomas?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I know the poem, but yeah, I've literally
Okay.
listen. I have not
Well, it's a
seen
really good.
movies. Like I've seen like
Well,
5
me
movies in
neither,
my
but
whole
I've seen
life.
Interstellar. Come on.
Yeah, you're right. No, I deserve this.
Um. Anyways, you should watch it. It's good. But there's like they do like wormhole stuff in that
Yeah.
movie. And I think that makes for great science fiction, but like there's no way that that's real.
Yeah.
Like aliens, I understand why, like I genuinely understand why people like can think that aliens are real. I even kind of think that aliens are real, but like doing like space like alternate universe, like wormhole stuff, I'm like, no, I
Yeah.
don't think because I think that I think honestly the reason I'm like kind of not about alternate universes is I think that it's a little bit close to like believing in religion.
See, I think that some of this kind of merges into that too. Yeah, because of like Oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Like the way that it also kind of related to religion. Oh yeah, I mean I feel like if, and this might be like controversial the way I'm about to say it, but like I feel like if you believe that space is as expansive as it is, for there to be other life forms out there that like, can't reach us or whatever, but they like exist. It's kind of like, I don't know, to me, I feel like you can't believe that and then like also believe in God, because those, like
Yeah.
when we made up the concept of like specifically, like Christianity and stuff like that, like we didn't know about space. But it's
Yeah.
so
No, I think
like,
that's
yeah.
exactly it. Yeah, I think, and also a lot of times when I was sort of like, there's no way we could have any concept of what aliens are going to be like, because we, how could we like know anything about, like, why would they look like humans? Why would That's how I feel when I'm trying to talk about God.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
like, how
drawing the
would we know what God
parallels.
looks like?
Yeah.
I'm like, how would we, if God exists, right?
Mhm.
If God exists for aliens, we have no idea what they're like,
Yeah.
because we are like human. Like, it's just,
Yeah, we're like stuck here on this plane, on this planet, and like
yeah,
we have
and like,
limited perception. Yeah.
just like the mere concept is like, oh well, it's like, that's kind of contradictory to the idea of knowing exactly what they would look like or be like, or whatever, right?
Yeah, maybe
Because it's like,
it's like this similar with, I feel like when we talked about religion, I feel like maybe I said a similar thing about like believing in a god, is it's like humans just want to be special. We want to think that we know things that like every other life form can't know, like we're special, like we were created, or like we were gifted, like the experience of being probed by an alien or whatever. Like we want to like
yeah, exactly.
believe that we're not like what we think. Like no one wants to believe, like that they're crazy, to say it like in a bad way, or
Yeah.
like that they, like you try to justify your experiences and justify your existence in a way, and part of that is probably where our concept, stories and conspiracies of aliens as we think we know them come from.
I think, yeah, there's
Yeah.
very to be part of something bigger than what we can like see and touch and
Yeah. And also
feel,
try to explain that stuff that we can't see and touch and
Yeah,
feel, because
in
it's like really hard to think about that there's stuff
yeah,
that you don't understand or know of.
yeah, and yeah, you want to like humanize it, right? You want everything that feels not human to feel human, And I think that's why, like, the traditional view of what God looks like is like a man, and like the traditional view of like what an alien looks like is like a green man, Like,
Yeah.
I think it is like we want it to like make sense in our human brain, and we want to be able to recognize it, and feel like we know about it, and it's, I understand, because it's like, it's deeply terrifying to feel like there are things that you just will never understand or never know about,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I think that, like, yeah, God, aliens, like, all of that kind of plays on that, like, human fear of the unknown.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then it'd also be really interesting. I don't have anything like in front of me right now, so I can't, but maybe I like should have looked into it before this, but I'm just thinking like, were there concepts of aliens like in ancient human times? Like did they have a concept of aliens from other planets, or like when did that really start? Because we have um like I forgot, I think there's a name for it. But I know that there's one specific popular one where there was like a plane that went over like a civilization, like a remote civilization that like didn't have a concept of that technology, and so it kind of became like essentially a type of alien for them, and essentially like a type of god, and they like started worshiping it. There's a name for it. It's like a version of a real story. But it kind of is
Interesting.
just like, that's an example of what humans will do, you know, if they when they try to explain things that they can explain, or like, you know, did UFOs exist in the same way before we had aircraft? Because a lot of UFOs, if you want to be like super, super skeptic, zero fun conspiracy about it, then it's like every UFO has to be some kind of like other nation's secret aircraft that like we don't know about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, did we really have that before aircraft? Like, is every UFO just like a mysterious aircraft that we've never, you know, that like our nation like doesn't have knowledge of? Because there are
Yeah, and I think
UFOs. So it's like, well, then what are they?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the answer probably is just exactly that. You know, like
Yeah.
it is probably just
That's like maybe more
plane that was
scary.
unaccounted for.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like this is
Yeah.
the thing. I think it's like it's really easy to want want things to be this kind of like sci-fi, like crazy explanation when the actual reality is the government is hiding shit from you, but it's probably not aliens, it's probably like bombs. And
Yeah.
you know, and there are things flying around in the sky that we don't know what they are, but it's probably not alien ships, it's probably like North Korea, you know, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like that's kind of like sad and terrifying, but you know,
Yeah.
the other alien book that I wanted to recommend to you, but also just in general, is Hank Green's book.
What? He wrote an alien book?
Yes, and it's
Oh.
so good.
What is it called?
I believe it's called An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. It's kind of a
Oh.
weird title, so I don't actually like. Do I have it?
Yeah.
No. I guess maybe I don't. Oh, Abe has it. That's why,
Oh,
because it's in
okay.
his room. I believe it's called An Absolutely Remarkable Thing.
Okay.
But it's Hank Green. He has two books, and it's just like the main book and then the sequel, and it's about aliens, and it's very good. I was honestly like kind of a skeptic going in. Like this is just my, you know, my opinion because I read
Uh-huh.
this like a couple of years ago. But I was kind of like, oh, like I don't know, like I know John Green's books and obviously I like watch YouTube, you know. So like I knew of the Green brothers. And this was like before they were like doing kind of what they're doing now on TikTok, which is like more.
Oh, I
But
didn't know that. Yeah.
yeah. So they you know, this was like a couple years ago. But anyways, I just saw that Hank Green put out a book and I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll just like read it because like I, you know, was very emotionally attached to John Green's books in like my younger years. So I was just like, okay, let me just read it. And then I was like, oh, it's about aliens. Interesting. And then I got to the end and I was like, holy shit.
Oh, wow.
So highly recommend it. Hank Green is a really good author and has a really interesting like idea for like what if aliens.
Yeah. My gosh, that reminds me
Without
of a
any
book.
spoilers.
Oh, yeah. That reminds me of a book that I read, but I don't even want to say what the name is because I don't even want to spoil it. It's about aliens. Because when I read it, um,
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't know if you've read this book. I feel like I met someone who did. Maybe it was Justin. But I don't remember his name, the author's name right now, so I guess I'm not spoiling any of it. But and I remember the name of the book though, but I don't want to say it because I'm like, it was a book by, it was like the author that's not Stephen King, but he writes books kind of like Stephen King. What's
Oh,
his?
I literally don't even know.
Oh, I think his stuff is always he. I literally can't remember any other of his books. He wrote a. My sister was really into him in high school. He wrote a book about like a kid who lived. Well, I don't think he was a kid, but a guy who lived like in an abandoned amusement park, and he was like a he like was like a demon basically, and he was like really messed up, and it's
Whoa.
kind of like scary books. But he wrote a book that was, I didn't know it was about aliens because all this weird stuff is happening to all these people that seem unrelated, and then it like all comes together, and then all of a sudden it's about aliens, and it's like, oh my god, that's like, it's amazing. But yeah, so there's like
Okay,
some
like
pretty good alien
later, just
literature out there.
when I forget about this conversation, recommend that book to me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I want to read that.
Yeah.
That sounds very cool.
We should like maybe like do a book exchange of like, here are some books that we own that you should read, and it'll just be in that pile and you like won't know which one it is.
Yeah. That'll be good.
If you even haven't read it, I don't know, you've read so many books, but
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. You could say like, "Oh, I've read this," and then I'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think like what it, but anyway.
Yeah. So
yeah, I love alien books.
Yeah.
And I like alien movies too.
Yeah.
But alien
Speaking
books
of alien stories, and maybe I'll like kind of pose this as a little bit of a question just to like make your brain work a little bit. So like, what do you think like people who are like entirely convinced that they've been like abducted or that they've had an alien experience, like what are they actually experiencing?
I think unfortunately the answer is like psychosis.
Yeah.
Like I think that people who genuinely believe that they've seen an alien or interacted with an alien, I think the most plausible explanation for that is that they were hallucinating or they were drugged or they
there's so many experiences where
something like that.
Yeah. There's so many experiences that aren't just alien related, but like where more than one person or even like a whole group of people have experienced and they're like all convinced that they experienced it. And that is such a fascinating phenomenon to me, like mass hysteria type things. And like those kids that I was talking about. It's like, what did those kids see if they all saw and drew and talked about the same thing? But it's like, but what was it? You know, like that's so fascinating.
I think too, like, something that is interesting is that like the human brain does work in somewhat predictable ways, right? So I think that it is probable that if something that the brain can't explain happens, that it will assume the same thing in multiple people, if that makes sense. Like I think that if multiple brains see the same thing and they don't have like the actual explanation for it, the conclusion that brains will draw will be the same among them, if that makes sense. And I think that that's why some of this type of stuff happens, is people will be like, oh, we all saw the alien, but it's like, no, you saw something that your brain couldn't explain, and all of your brains like filled in the gaps the same way and assumed it was aliens.
Yeah. It feels like kind of bad though, you know, to discredit these people because they're so convinced, and it's like to their face, it's like, no, you have to let them believe this.
No. No. I and you know what? I don't know. Like I've never seen an alien. I've never seen a UFO. I don't know, right? And like I said, I do believe there's probably something out there. You know, so it's like I'm not even saying like, oh, there's no way aliens could exist, right?
Yeah.
I just think that it's probably far more likely that, you know, somebody's brain, because that's so common. Like hallucinating is so common. Psychosis is unfortunately very common.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, probably more common than we think. Like,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah. I think my favorite, I did want to say possibly my favorite alien abduction story, because it was on this podcast. It was like one of their first episodes, and I thought it was like so fun and interesting because there's so many pieces to it where, like I was saying, like these people are so convinced for their entire lives that it happened, and then it's like there's stuff about it that is like just unexplainable because it's like, what happened then? But there was a group of men, I don't know how many, that were like working like logging, and it was in 1975. I had to like look it up to like remember the year. And it was in 1975, and I think it was dark, and they were riding in a truck. It was like 6 men like all in this truck together, and they were like driving through, you know, the forest or whatever. and they they somehow ran into, or like I don't remember if they like saw something and drove closer or if it just like suddenly appeared or what, but they like stopped in front of like a saucer shaped object that was hovering above the ground, and this is like allegedly what they all said that they saw. And so it's like hovering above the ground, like, 100 or so feet away, and it was apparently making like a really high pitched buzzing sound. And one guy like got out and started like walking towards it, and everyone else was like, "What are you doing? Get back here, like don't walk towards this thing, like we don't know what it is." And something like shot from the craft and hit him and knocked him out, like just knocked him onto the ground.
Whoa.
And the other men were like freaked out and just like drove away because they were like super freaked out and they like didn't know what to do, so they drove away. And allegedly they like went back and his body was gone, and the like I don't remember what happened to the like saucer or whatever. Like I think they might have like I don't know, like I don't know if they saw it later or anything like that. I don't think so. They just like drove away in a panic. But like his body was gone. There may have been like a spot on the ground that was weird where um uh like it was like something that hit him or whatever, like some sort of spot on the ground or whatever. But they found him, I think it was like 5 days later, walking along a highway, like far away from where this happened. And he had no memory of the 5 days before that. Like he like had no memory. But then he claimed that that after he was like knocked out, that he woke up in like, kind of like a hospital-esque room, and that there were like bald alien men that like poked at him or like did stuff to him or whatever. And then like just absolutely like no memory of like how he got back to Earth or where he was or anything like that. And he like stuck with that story like forever, and all those men like claim that they saw that happen. And I don't know, I think that's like maybe my favorite UFO story, because I'm like, 1975, who knows? Who knows? Who knows
Yeah.
what was happening in 1975, and like allegedly they were all sober and everything like that. We don't know, it was 1975. Who knows? Who's to say? But so
Yeah.
I think that's like one of my favorite UFO stories, because it has some kind of evidence to it, like whatever that
Yeah.
they saw in the forest, and that multiple of them saw it, and that this guy like somehow survived for 5 days and like didn't remember things. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of really cool stories out there.
Yeah. Another piece of, I feel like the only thing I'm bringing to this is like alien media recommendations.
Yeah. And I just
But,
keep thinking of more like stories that I've heard.
stories, which is
Yeah.
fine. This,
Yeah.
we this is why we do this together.
Yeah.
But there's like this SNL bit
Oh.
that is about like getting abducted
Oh
by
no.
aliens. It's so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Kate
Is it?
McKinnon is in it. Yeah,
Who's in
it is. Kate McKinnon.
Oh, how old is it?
Like not that old.
Oh,
like
okay.
a couple. Well, yeah. Like
Oh.
I remember watching it like when it came out. So it was probably 6 years ago, maybe. I don't know.
I feel like I've seen a lot of SNL bits that I don't think are funny, so it's
I know you don't think SNL is funny, and I do.
Well, I actually haven't watched too many like actual, episodes of Saturday Night Live. I've seen mostly like old bits and pieces of skits from like years ago. And there are ones that are older, like there are Chris Farley ones that I think are funny.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Maybe
I'll
I just
find
need to
the
watch
older
it more or
one
something.
and
Yeah.
send it to you. You can decide if you like it.
Yeah.
But I feel obligated to recommend it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the. I mean, also the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is like classic alien that I love.
Of course, yeah.
I'm trying to like look at my bookshelf where my sci-fi books are, and like see if I think of anything else. But yeah, I love aliens. Read Project Hail Mary. That's like the big one
Okay.
that I'm recommending to
Yeah,
you.
yeah. The only alien book that I can think of, like immediately, because I'm like, what alien books, like media, have I read or whatever that I really like? And I remember loving The Host by Stephanie Meyer.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, that's an alien
Yeah.
book. Yeah, that
Yeah, it
qualifies.
is.
And I
Yeah.
loved that book so much when I read it, like I think in high school, and then I remember the movie being really disappointing.
The movie was actively so bad,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that one was pretty good. Yeah, and then I do also think that you need to watch Interstellar. I'm gonna make
Yeah.
the big claim that it's a good movie and you should watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, is that all we have to say about aliens?
I feel like we could keep going for a while, but it might be like a lot of the same stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like my brain is just like getting bigger, but like with like conspiracy and stuff, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
like I could just like go wild about it for a while because it's just
We
it could be
we could
so
have
fun,
yeah, we could have a different podcast episode where we just each bring a couple of conspiracy theories and just like
That would be really
discuss.
interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Conspiracy theories
Okay.
are fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could be tough though
Well,
because a lot of them, like unfortunately, just go into like racist territory really fast.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, they definitely.
You have to find like fun, lighthearted conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, until next time, two things. Number one, I love you.
I love you too.
Number two, don't get abducted by aliens.
No, it's not the plan. I feel like I couldn't control it if it happened, but it's not the plan.
Okay, one other thing I have to say actually before we leave.
Okay.
Is one time when I was like 8 years old, probably, my grandpa, who just like does not like say very much. He's like very quiet. He has like 2 science degrees. Like he's
Oh.
just like he's very smart.
Okay.
He's very just like in his lane, He just likes to like watch his like history documentaries and like vibe.
Good.
Anyways, one time he said to me when I was 8 years old, he looked me in the eyes and said, "If a UFO came and said, 'Do you want to come with us?' I would go and leave everyone behind."
I want to know his thought process. Why did he say that to you? Did he say like to you?
I don't know.
We need to get
I don't know.
your grandfather on the podcast.
Honestly, yeah. No, but I remember being like, "You would leave us?" Because I was like 8. I was like, "You would like leave us behind and like you wouldn't miss us?" And he was like, "No, I'd miss you, but like I'd have to be
Yeah,
seeing what the
you'd
aliens
have to
are doing."
go. Oh my god. Oh, I love that.
So,
Okay.
I forgot about that until right now, and then I was like, "Oh my god!"
Oh my gosh, I'm glad that
memory.
we could bring that back for you. Oh my gosh.
So, yeah. Anyways, I already said I love you. Get abducted.
Yep. Okay, I love you too. I won't do that as long as you won't. And if you do, then you have to tell me about it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.